What we should do, what we're thinking of doing is if we have a look at these lyrics. I know everybody hasn't got copies of them, and try and explain how we sort of came up with them, and the meaning of them, and all that sort of thing. And we'll sort of play a little bits of a couple of them just to sort of give you an idea. But so the first one, which is "I Never Gave Up," this was written about. We wanted to write a song about basically the concentration camps in the Second World War, which were the stories that came out of concentration camps are all horrific and depressing and awful, obviously. But there is a book by someone called Primo Levi, and he wrote a book of stories of people that he was a concentration camp survivor. He was in Auschwitz, and he wrote stories of people of hope and courage and defiance and resistance, of people that were in there. Most of the people who would die, he wrote their stories, and which is a brilliant thing, because we can get too wound up in thinking that it's just all about, oh, I'll write about concentration camps, it's going to be doomy and depressing and awful and everyone's going to cry. But Primo Levi said, no, I'm going to write a book of short stories about, and it's the real stories, they're actual people's stories of things, of acts of defiance within the camps. And this was one of them, and these lyrics are actually taken largely from Primo Levi's writing, and they're about a conversation he had with a concentration camp inmate who was called Rappoport. And Rappoport was this huge bloke who, even though he was on work detail and just basically working himself to death in the camp, and he would eventually die, he said to Primo Levi, right, if his words were, if you survive me, I want you to tell the world this, and this is what he said. I drank, I ate, I made love, I did this, I had a good time, I never asked for pity, but the big thing he always came back to was I never gave up, even in the camps. And so we wrote this song because it's an incredibly positive song. It's really it's not a sort of bitter, horrible, sad concentration camp song. It's somebody saying, look, there's hope in here. And I think, and we loved that idea. We thought that's great. Even in the worst circumstances, you can still find something that you can find powerful and optimistic. So that's why we wrote that. This is from I would guess about 1993. That's a guess. I have no idea where.
1990 seems to be the earliest one.
1990.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And the interesting thing with these is that I do feel as if what we did is when we went along, we were writing songs and lyrics. Is that they all reflected the time that we were writing them in, and one of our plans was to change the kind of music that we played. About every 2 or 3 years, we'd have a big meeting, and we'd say, okay, we've done enough that kind of music. What should we do now? Let's try something different. And we even did this thing where we challenged each other to play different instruments that we'd never played before. So Lou, for instance, she'd always played guitar, and we sat down and said, look, we've got 2 guitarists, we can afford to get rid of one, why don't you play something different? She said, I'll try playing the keyboard, I've never played one in my life before, let's do that. And Harry, who was the drummer, right, I'm not going to play drums anymore, I'm just going to program drums, and we'll do that. So we looked at what was going on in the world around us in terms of music as well, and look, we're really into dance music in 1988 or whatever. We've got to do some remixes, and we got involved in that. We started as a very punky, shouty band. We made an a cappella album of folk songs, which was just vocals, harmonies, no instruments at all. We made acoustic albums. We did all sorts of things because it was a challenge to keep trying different things. It's really, and this I Never Gave Up was interesting because it started life as a very gentle acoustic song, and somebody from the company that distributed our records in London, they said, oh, this would make a great, big rock song, let's go and record it again. So we recorded it as a sort of rock song, and then we also recorded it as remix stuff with dance beats, and I think they all work in their own way, because it still became obvious what we were saying, and that this was quite explicit. Okay, so that's that one.